Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to another edition of Fashion Tech Africa. We're so happy to have you here today, and we're excited for the guests that we have joining us today for this edition. Just a bit about Fashion Tech Africa first before we introduce them. Fashion Tech Africa is an online series looking at the way fashion and technology are coming together across the world to help drive the industry in a new way. Particularly, we'll also be looking at those in the African fashion sector who are using technology and fashion in a different way. But for today, we have special guests with us today. We have the co-founders of Lab Laco and Circular Fashion Summit, Lorenzo and Eliana. And they'll be joining us today to talk about their organization and the recently concluded Circular Fashion Summit that took place during Paris Fashion Week. And with that, I'm going to bring on Lorenzo and Eliana to just introduce themselves a bit more and also just tell us about their organization, Lab Laco, and the Circular Fashion Summit. So over to you, Lorenzo and Eliana.
Thank you so much. And first of all, thank you for having us. And shall we start by introducing a little bit of what we do, or how would
Sure,
you like to?
definitely. Maybe just tell us just a bit about Lab Laco for those who may not be as familiar with you, and also about the Circular Fashion Summit. And just tell us a bit when the company was started and what really led you to start the organization.
Definitely. So, introducing myself, first of all, I am a former tailor and designer. So, our backgrounds, we both come from luxury fashion industry. We've been working for almost 10 years in the industry, and basically, I was doing bespoke, traditional menswear tailoring in Italy, in
Oh,
traditional
great.
tailor shops such as Caraceni and Marinaro, all the traditional old school, if you want,
Mm.
bespoke. And so then after that, I created my brand. So I've then moved into design. And then that's when I met Yoon in Milan.
Yeah. So my background is more like luxury merchandising buying. I was working with Giorgio Armani, Etro. So basically, that was the time when I was also working with some like independent designers to help them to go to the market and brand strategy and so on. So that was the time when I discovered both worlds from luxury fashion and independent design and discovered some problems in fashion industry. So yeah, so they basically starting from 2015, we met together and then we started to work on Loblaco as a platform to really help industry to basically go into more circular business models as a whole, not only from the circular design point of view, but also the consumer side point of view, how really you can connect the both consumer and brands to make the whole system more circular.
Very
Definitely.
nice. I love those stories. So you were both in the fashion space, one as a designer, bespoke designer, which is actually pretty big in Africa. Bespoke tailoring is pretty big here. And then you, Eliana, as more of a buyer. But you guys didn't have a technology background. So tell me how you kind of um, went in this direction with the technology lean in what you're doing right now.
Oh yeah, well they call it, the valley of death, right? It's when you start, you go from 0 to 1 really. And
Yeah.
yeah, so basically, well, we started the concept and everything, putting the pieces together in 2016. And so, we didn't have any investor or anything. So we just started with our own strength. And, we kind of understood that the industry didn't need more clothing. The industry
Mhm.
needed a new system, right? So
Exactly.
that's when we decided. I mean, she left an incredible job, going around the world, first
Mm.
class, and all that, to being a startup, sleeping on the floor kind of
Yes.
stuff. So it was a big change for her, and for me in basketball catering as well. I mean, it was a big change. I had to give away all my machinery and all the stuff that I spent
Oh,
years learning
yeah.
how to craft, and so that was a big. I would say I had to give up a lot of
Yeah.
energy
Yeah.
so that we both invested, and but the reason was big enough, and the fashion industry is the second most polluting industry in the world. That's what they say.
Yes. Yes.
uh, we had to do something about it. So basically, we just started in a very, very, very humble way.
Mm-hmm.
I had no knowledge even on UX design or anything. The first ever design I did on Microsoft Word.
Mm.
That was that was my design tool. So to let you know, you can start from very, very humble ideas as long as the mission is strong enough that you never
Exactly. Exactly.
to reach it. So, at the end of the day, I managed to close the tailoring shop, and I got a job in Rome in
Mm.
a prestigious traditional menswear brand to do consultancy. So
Mm.
that gave me enough money at the beginning to then put together the first team in Indonesia. So
Yes.
I was in Rome, and I just hired a bunch of kids basically in Indonesia,
Mm.
and sent them all my money and hoped for the best. So it was pretty
All
crazy.
right.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't sleep for a month probably. I was just afraid that they would just disappear with the money.
Yeah.
But then, I flew over there, and I never
Yeah.
flew to Asia in my life. It was my first
Mhm.
time I really got out of my comfort zone. And I went to Indonesia, and then, these guys brought me in a car and down to the south of Indonesia, from Jakarta
Mhm.
to Cirebon in
Mhm.
the heart of Indonesia. And, I was like, oh, well, what am I doing, right? But then at the end of the day, when I got there, the office was there, the Macintosh computers were there, there was a
Yeah.
that wire from coming through, no running water. But it was a really amazing experience. So that's when
Yeah.
we started putting the first product together, and
Mhm.
something running. Yeah, the prototype. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got the prototype together, and it was good enough to present ourselves to the co-founder of Net-a-Porter, which
Mm.
is number one luxury e-commerce
Exactly.
platform on the market, and he was
Yeah.
also one of my. So Arnaud Massenet, he was one of my clients also in the bespoke tailoring,
Yeah.
and he found what we built, and so he decided to be the first investor
Oh
in
wow.
this adventure. So
I love it.
and
Yeah.
that unlocked all the opportunities. So we got more and more funding. We learned more and more. We hired more technology people, and so then here we are now. So basically, since then it was basically 3 years there's to get the product together that
Yeah.
contributes value to the
Yeah.
people using
Yeah.
it. And so yeah, last year we launched the real product with the biggest luxury retail group in Asia. So
Mhm.
from 2016, it took us all until 2019 to build something of value. So never give up. See if it really was.
Exactly.
And so yeah, we basically actually we found that we were lacking a key aspect of delivering true value to our
Mhm.
customers. And
Yeah.
so when we actually inserted the blockchain technology in our system,
Yeah.
that's when we got a unique value proposition, and
Mhm.
we could offer full traceability of the product. So just to explain what it is after how we
Exactly.
made it. So yeah, LabLooker is a circular retail solution for brands and retailers. And so what that means is we help the brands, for example, to tokenize, we say, the products at any level of the supply chain. So from the ingredient manufacturers, the garment manufacturers, the brands, the retailers. But most importantly, we are also are able, and we're actually mostly focused on tracking the ownership of these
Mhm.
garments. So the customer becomes owner, is not a consumer anymore. You don't consume a car, you don't consume a
Mm.
house. You own a house, you own a car.
You're the owner. Okay.
We're helping consumers to start to own their garments through the blockchain.
Yeah.
So the customer becomes part of the supply chain. He's not a
Mm.
detached player. It
Okay.
becomes part of the ecosystem. So then, how this works is we have a system that manages to, when we say tokenize, it means that we create a blockchain token for every garment, and we connect it with QR codes or NFC chips. And so each individual product is traced individually.
Mhm.
And see what that means is a little bit like talking about music industry, where, for example, before digitization, it was very hard to understand how many people were listening to a record, right? With a
Yes.
plastic CD, you can't track that.
Mhm.
You don't know who's listening to that music, right? In the same way, we're still in the offline era of fashion in this moment. All these clothes are offline; they're not connected.
Yes.
And so, imagine the opportunity of unlocking the potential of data in fashion, where
Exactly.
you can have owners of customers. You can know, if they've been resold to anyone. And so that what that means is the customer can see where the products come from, but also the brands for the first time can know where the products are going.
Going, exactly.
So that's really, really interesting. So that data that can then unlock circular retail business opportunities, which mean if you don't know who's buying your product, you can't retarget that user to ask to take it back, right?
Yes.
As simple as that. So once you know who's got that product, you can send them a notification, say, hey, are you still using that after the 12 months? If not, we'll take it back and resell it to someone else. And they're going to give you 10% discount to buy something new. So it's that kind of new relationship between brands and customers.
I love it. So it's essentially, go ahead, Eliana, were you going to say something?
Yeah, actually, just to also to respond to your question before about what we think about technology, that we're not the background of technology, but actually being through this journey, I think the most biggest, basically fashion industry is a very complex industry. And then what we discover is technology people, they don't really understand this industry because it's really too much complicated, from supply chain to consumer to social media. Like it's a whole bunch of players that create this ecosystem. So what we see is we really need people understand this industry and to use technology as a tool, not to be used by technology as, for example, Instagram. Probably today they create a lot of content, but then somehow the content creators become, not to say slave, but somehow like people are like really create content but without the purpose. So basically, how to use technology with a purpose, and then to use for more intelligent way to help industry to go better. I think this is a very important thing that the fashion industry people would really to understand, like how to use technology but not to be used, and use it to be better.
Exactly. Completely agree. Completely agree with you on that we need to move beyond just I think, yes, platforms like Instagram serve a purpose, but I think like you said, there can also be other ways that we use technology to really help solve some of the issues that you mentioned, Lorenzo. I guess my question now, you've described the technology, it makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to other people. Basically adding tags to products so that we can bring them online and we can track how they're being used. And in that way we can change or even reinvent the ways that we interact as consumers, as brands across the value chain, which I think is awesome. So my question for you now, you mentioned that you launched the product in 2019. Since that time, what has the reception been? Have you guys been able to bring in some brands to use the product, and what have they been able to do with the technology so far? How have they been able to change their processes based on what the product that you've given them?
Definitely. Well, so if you go on lablaco.com, since then what we've done is in 1 year we've got a lot of feedback, and we basically now polished the product and are now going towards the scale up phase. And what that means is that we've done also a very deep rebranding of everything. So how everything is structured is we have it's a 3-leg stool, if you want. So we have 3 pillars that keep everything together. And so how it actually works is that we have L+, which is like a Shopify system. It's a merchandising system, really, is though dedicated to circular retail. So it's vertical for fashion brands, and it's made exactly to do this, to connect
circular retail as a service.
Yeah, circular retail as a service. It's a new concept of providing these closed-loop merchandising systems. So, usually you sell a product and that's when the relationship ends. With the circular retail, that's when it starts. So it's a totally flipped around system. But we make it hopefully very easy. That's the feedback, at least, that we've got from our customers, which is great. A little bit like Uber, there's one app for the driver and one for the consumer, right? So that's our driver app, if you want. And then there's the consumer app, which is called Spin, SPIN. And that's what really customers engage with. So that's how we make everything exciting for the consumer.
And how we want to really educate actually the consumer that you don't really only shop, but you actually spin. So Spain is the
I love it.
we like experienced like 4 years to understand which is the best word to really, because in the beginning of BlaBlaCo it was give and shop, and we called it like circular consumption, but then give then shop is too much word. We were
Yes.
thinking what is the best word to describe this circular consumption model that people can get excited and also understand, oh, so this is what it is. And then one day in Paris, we're like, just, oh, it's Spain. Because it's spinning in the loop.
Yeah.
So
You go spinning, you spin the clothes around and around.
yeah, you shop and you give and then you swap and then borrow and then secondhand. So basically you continue to give the clothes a second life, like all the way down. So
Exactly.
The customer experience is so important, and we discovered that with our first client, which is Lynn Crawford Joyce Group in Hong Kong. As we were saying before, they're the largest luxury retail group in Asia, and they really helped us nail the customer experience because it's all about that. You know, what people really want to use it for. And so when it's basically why do companies and individuals use our technology, that's the third pillar of what we do is the Circular Fashion Summit. And so once we have the technology, we decided that technology without humanity is not enough, of course. And so the Circular Fashion Summit is that moment in which we give purpose to the technology and the communities that use the technology. So
and also to link to education field.
Yeah.
As we were saying today with media here in Taiwan. So basically, Circular Fashion Summit, we focus in three pillars. So design, fashion, technology, and sustainability. For now, you can see the three parts seems to be integrated, but actually they talk their own languages separately. So how we can link really three parts to the fashion ecosystem, make the whole circular fashion works. That's the most important. The collaboration, the cross industry, the supply chain link to the brand and consumer. So all these three parts need to work together to make circular fashion really works. So that's why we call it like collective action summit, that we put together these three pillars and put everyone into action and collaborate with each other. And this is when we think the change could really happen, because without collaboration and clear action to make let's say measurable, this could not work. So so this is basically what we.
Yeah. So for example, so with this retailer that we're talking about, why they use it and what is the purpose, right? I mean, so we have three goals in the summit. So as we were saying, we have three core panels: design, technology, sustainability. But we don't just talk about the issues. We then set measurable goals to achieve collectively worldwide in a scalable way. And so what we do at Applico, we provide the tools to achieve the goals in a measurable way. So by providing the tools such as the back end for the brands and the consumers and all that, those are the tools that actually make everything happen, because they say you can't change what you can't measure, right? And so by providing these tools, that's when everything can actually happen. So for example, the goals of the summit, the three, one is about every year, by the way, so we have 12 months to achieve them. It's not by saving the world by 2050, it's about what can we do now with the resources and with the partners that we have available. So this year we're working on providing 1,000 sneakers to kids in war zone in Afghanistan. And so empowering and reducing inequality for girls in a country where it's illegal to play football if you're a woman.
And so how are you doing that?
So we use blockchain for good in that case. We partner with a local NGO called Afghan Libre, which is basically connecting us to 7 female schools. And what we're doing then is we provide the blockchain to trace the sneakers so that we know that they go to the NGO and we know name and face of each kid that receives the sneaker. And so that's the exciting part. So they know they don't go on the black market or they don't disappear, it's fully traceable. And then we empower the kids through sports with educational and sport. And actually, also Nadia Nadine is part of Afghan Libre, and she's actually one of their spokesperson, and she's a football player and champion from Paris Saint-Germain. And she's from Afghanistan, and an incredible example of success, as she had to learn football behind closed doors. Her dad, that taught her football, and now she's a champion in Paris. And so really show that everything is possible and reducing inequality in that way. So that's SDG reduction of inequality. So each goal, by the way, is supporting the SDG goals.
Yeah.
And then goal number 2 is about tokenizing 10,000 items high in the supply chain. So provide a transparent supply chain for customers. Engage with the customer through new ways of creating products, either with recycled materials or innovative materials. So creating sustainable circular products at the inception. And so that's the first step. And it's 10,000, we can do that with the partners. I mean, it's not it's not 10 million.
Not a huge, yeah, exactly.
It's very doable. And so we're already on a really good path, and we've got amazing partners to do that. And we're creating, just an example, new sunglasses using recycled plastics, actually collected from Africa and Southeast Asia, and from Plastic Bank, which is a social plastics company that actually is also not only to clean the planet, but to also eradicate poverty. And so they also offer education and money wealth to whoever collects these plastics with tokens and blockchain and all that. So it's an incredible company. And so we use these plastics to create new products, for example. So we are here in Taiwan because we create products with technology companies. So we're connecting the whole ecosystem. So these are sunglasses made with recycled plastics, helping communities and putting NFC chips to be traceable. So you just scan them with your phone. It's like Apple Pay technology. You just put your phone on the sunglasses and boom, it's going to show you a Safari page, an internet page, where it comes from, who's the owner, what is the plastic, all this information. Also, who collected the plastic. You can see the name and face if you go as deep as that.
So it sounds like you guys are very busy. There's a lot going on across the full value chain. But that's great. That's
There's
great.
more. The third goal, which is about recirculating 100,000 products collectively. And that's how the retailers and everyone involved, also from Unilever to luxury retailers, are all getting involved to collectively recirculate 100,000 products collectively. Calculating also the impact, because we also have an impact calculator, how much water and CO2 is estimated to be used to produce that product. Of course, we don't have the hard numbers, but it's basically just to give an idea to the customer that if you swap something, it's not just free, you're doing really good to the planet. The most sustainable item that you can ever have is a swapped one, because you're not creating a new one.
Yeah.
So that's something really to educate, once again, as you were saying. And so these are the 3 goals. And the example that we were saying before, just to get finally to that point, is that this retailer used the 3rd goal of the summit to create this collective action. So they took, for example, products from celebrities, tracing the ownership in the timeline. So from Gabrielle Hearst, Miraduma, Stella McCartney herself, all these celebrities in fashion opened their wardrobes to donate the clothes to Crawford. And with Luxarity and Christina Ventura, their special program, we resold these items and the profits went to sustainable causes in fashion. So it was a nonprofit, for example, operation. And that was it.
I love it. So a couple of questions on that. The first is in terms of the cost of the product, do you think it will significantly increase the cost of the products at the end user, or the user, not the consumer, as we're no longer calling them consumers? Do you think will increase significantly the cost of the items that they purchased? And then secondly, it seems like the technology is still dependent on people actually taking that step of using their cell phones to scan the item. How do you know people will actually follow through to take that step and ensure that everything is kind of being registered online?
Yeah, definitely. So user experience, number 1, of course, and in both cases. So it has to be easy to produce products in this way. And when they say user experience for the designer, it means it also has to be same cost or cheaper, right? Yeah. So it's absolutely not more expensive, actually, because if you're upcycling, a collection using old clothes, it's actually cheaper. So just an example, Better is a brand that was created just now from the Julie Peripa, the former fashion director of Vogue Ukraine. She created an upcycling brand, upcycling basically old suits into incredible glamorous suits. And what is the cost of those materials? Close, very low, right? I mean, you're not paying a premium for these because they're
Exactly.
old stock, and so
Yeah.
it depends by the intelligence of the designer, really. I mean,
Yeah.
Virgil Abloh, he started his first brand before Off-White. He was printing his brand on old Ralph Lauren shirts,
Oh wow,
right?
I didn't know that.
And so
Interesting.
he got unsold stock from Ralph Lauren, he put his brand on it, and he sold it for a premium.
Yeah.
So it's really up to the designer.
Yeah, also I think it's linked to 2 days ago our speaker Alexander Taylor. So basically he mentioned the new design, how to be circular, is it to be more expensive or not. So basically designer has to think about what you really want to create, what's the purpose of this design. So if you
Exactly.
create something that really valuable and then people appreciate it and it's beautiful, so basically we'll basically pay for it. Also from the research from PwC yesterday, they mentioned all the new generation, basically they prefer to pay more to have a sustainable pieces. So if you create something that is really valuable and with premium quality and it's durable, the performance of it's durable, and then basically if it costs a little bit more for a customer, it's basically what they were looking for. So
yeah, I mean, it's like an iPhone, it costs a little bit more, but many people buy it anyway. It's not as if you lose customers if you create something good.
Yeah. As
You
long as
can
they see the
be unhappy.
value, as long
Exactly.
as they see the value in what's being purchased. So I guess that's my next question. So why should the average person care? I'm in my home in Lagos, in Nairobi, and Cape Town. Why should I care about what you guys are doing in this technology?
Well, actually, yeah, because we're actually organizing now to come with a swap chain project in Lagos Fashion Week as well. So we
Oh,
launched
very
our
nice.
yeah, we organized our swapping system. Also, we launched it with the London Fashion Week in February, and that
Mm,
was the first ever swap event in the official London Fashion Week agenda.
yeah.
And the fact of why should customer care? It should be fun, first of all. It should give pleasure, and it should make people feel good and easy,
Yeah.
easy to use.
and
And yeah.
oops. So basically, because fashion for now, but you always ask people to buy stuff. So
Mm,
that's when people say, okay, so why you always ask me to buy? But then if you give, for example, Spain is a good example. You give best choices to buy good quality of product which is durable, and then at the same time you can swap with your friends, with the community, or you can get a second hand at the same time. So you don't always spend, but sometimes you get some fun, you get some free. So it kind of balance the whole experience of not always purchasing, but sometimes you discover something new from the community which is free. So the whole spin
yeah.
yeah situation and the circular consumption is basically to balance the whole purchasing, keep close life alive, and also basically help the planet at the same time. So it's a like good plus good kind of feeling at the same
Yeah.
time. So
We have a toolkit for that. So how do you ensure people to use it properly, right? So what we do is we partner with organizations and retailers at the moment, which are, they have an interest to make sure that everything is properly organized. And so we have actually partners around the world. We call them catalysts. And
Yeah.
these are the people like Omoyeni and so many other that are helping us basically to do this. And we have a system that works. So basically, people can bring their clothes at these events, their old clothes,
Mm,
and they get tokenized in real time. So there's
mm,
a team of people that shoot them, put them in the system, trace the previous owner. So when you
mm,
come, you bring clothes, you got to create your account. So everything is traced. And then by creating your account, you say, okay, this was my t-shirt. Please put me as the previous owner if it's
mm.
secondhand. Now, there wouldn't be a QR code sewn into it, but there will be a sticker applied onto it. So
Person.
you shoot the item. There's an automatic AI-based background removal, so everything is really easy to use. And then when you put them on the racks to be swapped, people come with their, any kind of smartphone. You just scan the QR code, and then you
Mm,
click on it, and then it's mine. So there's no friction really. So you just
Exactly.
swap it, and now you're the new owner in the timeline. And then when you're done with it, then you pass it on to a new owner, and that's fun for
It's
one
smart.
reason because it's fast. And just think about why do we put pictures on Instagram without them paying us? Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Instead of having a
But
photo
I
lying
wonder
in
a lot of times, yes.
exactly. No, you
Yeah.
get likes. And what are likes? It's just a list of people, one under the other,
Hmm.
validating you just posted. That's all it is, right? It's the community, it's your friends. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing with clothing. And that's
Mhm.
exactly how it looks like. So, for example, when you see all the owners one under the other, it's like Instagram likes. You just got a list
Yeah.
of people who used to own
Yeah.
it. And that's it. It's as simple as it gets. And then you can click on the previous owner, you can send them a message. Imagining going to a vintage store and seeing an incredible pair of, elegant trousers, and you wonder, wait,
Mhm.
who was the owner before me, right? Like you can know.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Great. I love it. Okay, so last question as we look to wrap up. I would have loved to talk a bit more about the Circular Fashion Summit, but that's okay. What the question I have for you guys is, so for those in the African fashion segment, designers, brands, is there a way for them to start engaging now with the technology, or is that still coming for for lower, I guess, smaller brands, more independent brands to also work with you all?
Oh yeah, well, I was a bespoke tailor and designer. This was born to serve, independent designers
Love
first,
it. Yeah. Yeah.
as well as the big ones. And
Yes.
like on Spotify, I can be an independent musician, but there's also Beyonce on the same platform, right?
Exactly.
We all have the same profile. Beyonce doesn't
Exactly.
have a more fancy profile; they're the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just have more followers. So that's how it works. It's really, we have a free package for small brands. They don't even have to pay us. We give
Oh,
it
that's
for free,
great.
pay as you
Yeah.
go. And if you're a big brand, you can also spend hundreds of thousands of dollars per year.
Yeah.
Depends how big you are and how much
Yeah.
energy and
Yeah.
service you require.
Yeah.
But we try to make it as democratic as possible to empower as many people as possible to, jump on the global market, sell globally. We organize all the global logistics. We organize payments, returns, and so the brands can actually, focus on creating clothing instead
Mm-hmm.
of creating an e-commerce platform, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
you create your own website and you think you're going to sell globally by yourself, and that's not really always the case. You need to be also an influencer. You need to have traffic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not organic traffic if you have a website, right? You got to
Yeah.
push the content, and it's very
Exactly.
expensive
Exactly.
to redirect all that traffic to your website if you're not Gucci.
And
Yeah.
also the frictionless, because for now, if you see on the web, basically there are too many platforms also for designers to use. So basically they're very confused. So they spend a lot of time to create content, and then they try to drag the whole community to buy the pieces. But then they I think for now, people like designers basically they spend more time on create content instead of focusing on design. So basically it's
Yeah.
a kind of wrong circle of like activity. So
Mm-hmm.
a platform can help them to really focus on what they should do and provide the right data. Because if you see on the Instagram, the data they collect is basically the likes, the performance of images,
Mm-hmm.
but not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily for the collection. So
Yeah.
how they can gather all the data, the right data for them to understand. So next season I should focus more on this pieces, this color, or this fabric because my consumers or my community like this kind of product. So
Mm-hmm.
all this data is missing for now. So this is what we're trying to gather, and also through all this kind of tracing the product until the end of life cycle, they can help the designer understand. Oh, so my product actually more like many people they wanted and
Exactly.
actually cycle a lot, and then oh you pass back, and basically they can also gather back to upcycle to do something new. So it's a whole really focus on designer kind of system to
Exactly.
help understand how to produce better.
Yeah, and actually also that just to put it in perspective. So what is Spin, right? So on
Mm.
Spin, all the designers have their own profile, like Spotify, right? And the
Yeah.
cool thing that different from Instagram. So if Instagram is like the YouTube of fashion, we want to create the Netflix of fashion, right? So a B2C content platform.
Yes.
So only designers can create content. Users can only swap clothes and buy and sell, but the actual content can only be created by brands and retailers and magazines and so on. So it's a B2C content platform. So you don't have to fight with 2 billion content creators and spend ads for people your content. It's just very organic and it's vertical for the fashion industry. And talking about the independent designers, just to wrap it up, we're really dedicated to support independent designers because it's really at the core of our mission as well.
Yes.
Having been one myself, and the fact is that the Circular Fashion Summit actually, usually if you're a designer, you want to go to a trade show, you have to pay, you have to pay thousands of dollars.
Yes.
And I don't think that's helping the brands because they should use that money to create clothes. And so, we're also a small startup, but since day one, we decided to invest heavily in the Circular Fashion Summits to give the platform also to independent designers at the Impact Design Hub, which this year actually it's all BIPOC selected brands, also in support of the Business Matters. So we try and use it as a platform also to give voice to minorities and not only independent design, but also diversity and how it should be, right? So giving the full package.
Exactly.
And so what we do is, not only we give them the free visibility, but then we also have the second part of the summit, of the showcase of the summit, we say. So on one side we talk, but then there's also the showcase. So we showcase independent designers, and then we showcase the innovation hub with all the innovators and the supply chain players. And that's where we do this, the matchmaking to create those synergies, to create wealth and business opportunities that are sustainable for the future. So that's how we make it all work.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing a bit about the summit as well. I really enjoyed that piece that you added there. So thank you. And then lastly, for the designers, how can they access the products? Where should they go to access Spin and the other products that you have available for independent designers?
Well, so first of all, they should go on Spin, and then if you go on the menu, there's business, and you open your business account. Similar to Facebook, you have a public page, same concept.
And what's the website or address for Spin? Is it just under the Lab Blacko?
Yeah, but if you want a shortcut, it's spin.fashion.
Spin.fashion. Okay, spin.fashion. Okay, great. That's easy enough.
www.spin.fashion, and then you're in. And then to upload the products, you go on L+, which is the merchandising system.
Awesome. Great. Any last words before we wrap up? This has been great, informative for me. I'm sure for many others. Any last things you might want to add?
Oh, thank you, first of all, to you for having us.
Thank you for coming on. My pleasure, completely.
Surprise. And let's keep in touch. And anything that comes to mind, we're here, and we're here to support anyone that wants to create circular products. You don't have to be a sustainable brand to work with us, but you do have to create impact design products with us.
Exactly.
So if you go on lablaco.com, you can find a lot of information. And if you want, my email is lore@lablaco.com. You can write me an email, or yun@lablaco.com, YUN. And so, Laura, you can write us whenever, if you have any more.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys coming on. And for those of us who are, I guess, in Lagos, we also look forward to, well, I guess it's going to be more virtual this year. We look forward to seeing you guys and engaging in what you have in store for us at Lagos Fashion Week. And thank you to everyone for listening in today. We hope you took away something significant from this conversation, and tune back in for the next in the series for Fashion Tech Africa. And this video will continue to be on the Business Day YouTube, so you can continue to watch it and share with others as well. So thank you again for coming on, and take care. All the best. Thank you, Lorenzo and Eliana. All the best. Bye.
Bye.